Mekong Delta lay suffocated under the oppressive weight of the Mua Ngau monsoon. Incessant rain drummed against the earth, a relentless symphony that blurred the line between reality and superstition, drowning the air with a moist heaviness. Tran Luc, a man of logic and reason, who spent his days amidst the concrete jungles of the city, found himself a reluctant participant in the age-old traditions of his ancestors. Today, he stood at the threshold of the Nguyen family's ancestral home, a place steeped in history and mystery, to attend the funeral of a woman he barely knew, yet could not escape the shadow of her legend, his great-aunt, Mrs. Sao. The air inside the house was thick with incense, and the muffled murmurs of grieving relatives, each bearing the weight of centuries-old superstitions. They spoke of the rain as a harbinger, a veil that blurred the line between the world of the living and that of the departed. Luc stood apart, his skepticism a silent defiance against the whispers of the elders who nodded knowingly, as if the monsoon itself were an ancient spirit awakening to watch over the proceedings. He was here to represent his family, to stand as a figurehead amidst rituals he did not understand, yet he felt a strange pull towards the tales of the past. In the center of the hall lay the reason for their gathering, the coffin of Mrs. Sao. She was a woman shrouded in mystery and fear, a hermit rumored to have dabbled in the dark arts, feared and respected in equal measure. Her legend was as much a part of the family as the home they stood in. Luc's eyes settled on the simple wooden coffin, awaiting the monk's blessing, a ritual that would hopefully lay to rest both the old woman's spirit and the collective anxiety of the family. Near the coffin, his uncle, Mr. Tu, lay sprawled on a woven mat, snatching a moment's rest. His face was etched with the lines of exhaustion from days of funeral preparations, mingling with the grief of his sister's passing. As the rain pounded relentlessly against the roof, a sense of foreboding filled the air. Mr. Tu sat in the dimly lit room, the flickering candle casting long shadows on the walls. The old diviner, a frail man with eyes that seemed to pierce into the soul, leaned forward, his voice a hoarse whisper. "You must bury her before midnight on the third night," he warned, his gaze steady and unyielding. "If not, the curse will awaken." The gravity of his words hung heavily between them, like a specter waiting to pounce. But the elements conspired against them. Outside, the storm raged with an unyielding fury, and the roads were submerged beneath torrents of water. The monk, their only hope for a proper burial, was delayed. Inside, the coffin lay untouched, unsealed, as if waiting for a resolution that seemed ever elusive. Mr. Tu paced the floor, his anxiety palpable, his eyes darting to the clock that ticked away with a relentless, mocking regularity. Luc, the youngest in the family, was tasked with keeping vigil. He sat in a wooden chair, his eyes heavy with fatigue, yet fear kept him alert. The room was engulfed in an oppressive silence, only broken by the howling winds outside. Mrs. Sao's funeral portrait seemed to follow him with an unnerving gaze, her eyes holding secrets of the past. Luc shivered, pulling his jacket tighter around him as he tried to shake off the unease that clung to him like a shroud. As the storm intensified, a strange odor permeated the room, pungent and foreign. Luc wrinkled his nose, his senses on high alert. Suddenly, a whisper cut through the silence, an indistinct murmur that sent chills down his spine. He hesitated, every fiber of his being screaming to run, but curiosity drew him closer. He approached the coffin, his heart pounding in his chest. The shroud seemed to move, a subtle undulation that froze him in place. "No, it can't be," he thought, his mind racing. Just then, the lamps flickered and died, plunging the room into an abyss of darkness. Panic surged through Luc as he fumbled for his phone, dropping it in his haste. The device clattered to the floor, its screen flickering in the inky blackness. He scrambled to retrieve it, his breath coming in ragged gasps. The light from the phone illuminated the room as he lifted it, and a gasp escaped his lips. The coffin lay open, its lid shattered into pieces. Mrs. Sao was gone, vanished into the night like a shadow. The realization struck him like a blow, leaving him paralyzed with terror. Luc stumbled backward into the dimly lit room, his heart pounding an erratic rhythm against his chest. The air was thick with a putrid stench, a scent that clawed at his throat and filled his lungs with dread. His eyes, wide with terror, locked onto the figure sprawled on the ground. Mr. Tu, his body slick with a strange, glistening mucus that reflected the pale moonlight seeping through the cracked windows. From the corner, a sound, both alien and familiar, froze Luc in place. Slowly, a figure emerged from the shadows, its movements jagged and unnatural. Mrs. Sao, or what remained of her, stood before him. Her body was grotesquely twisted, each limb moving as if pulled by invisible strings. Her face, a horrifying mask of decay and malevolence, was framed by strands of hair hanging like a morbid veil. Her voice, when it came, was a cacophony of demonic sounds, echoing off the walls and burrowing into Luc's very soul. It was a voice that promised nothing but suffering and death. "Luck?" it rasped, stretching his name into a sinister melody. Luc's breath hitched as memories of the local folklore flooded his mind. The Linh Mieu, the curse, and the black cat he had seen earlier that day. It all clicked into place with a chilling certainty. The demon continued to taunt Luc, her laughter a sickening blend of gurgles and shrieks. Then, with a sudden, terrifying swiftness, she turned her attention to Mr. Tu. Luc watched, paralyzed, as the demonic force enveloped the old man, the light in his eyes extinguished with a final, desperate gasp. The room grew colder, as if the very life had been sucked away, leaving only the echo of Mr. Tu's last breath. Luc's primal instincts kicked in, urging him to flee. With a strangled cry, he turned and bolted towards the door, his feet barely touching the ground. The storm outside raged with a ferocious intensity, rain lashing against his skin as he stumbled into the night. Behind him, the demon pursued, its movements unnaturally fluid, as if it were part of the storm itself. Lightning flashed, illuminating the nightmare chasing him, its eyes burning with an infernal fire. In the dead of night, Luc stumbles through the dense jungle, guided only by the dim glow of his lantern. His heart pounds with urgency, his breath shallow with fear. The path is treacherous, but he knows he must reach Thai Duong's hut before it's too late. Finally, as dawn threatens to break, the small, ancient hut comes into view. Luc rushes forward and bursts through the door, startling the old shaman from his meditative state. "Thai Duong!" Luc gasps, desperation thick in his voice. "You must help us. The demon, it's inside her." The shaman, a figure as timeless as the mountains themselves, rises with a calm authority. His eyes, sharp and knowing, scan Luc's face. "The demon's presence is strong," Thai Duong intones, his voice carrying the weight of ancient wisdom. "We must act swiftly." Without another word, Thai Duong gathers his sacred tools with deliberate precision. The air grows heavy as he begins the ritual to expel the demon. Incense smoke swirls around the room, and Luc watches with bated breath as Thai Duong chants in a language long forgotten by time. Suddenly, a chilling wind rushes through the hut, and the demon crashes in, a dark, malevolent force that shakes the very walls. Thai Duong, undeterred, reaches for a small pouch. "Consecrated rice," he mutters, his voice unwavering. With a swift motion, he hurls the rice at the demon. The grains spark and sizzle upon contact, unleashing a blinding light that fills the room. A horrific scream pierces the air, echoing with the demon's fury and pain. As the light subsides, the once formidable demon is gone, leaving only a faint, eerie silence in its wake. Mrs. Sao's body collapses to the floor, lifeless and still. Luc stands frozen, his heart torn between relief and sorrow. Thai Duong kneels beside Mrs. Sao, his expression solemn. "Her spirit is free once more," he murmurs, gently closing her eyes. "But the demon's anger was great. We must ensure she is laid to rest properly, or it may return." Luc nods, understanding the gravity of Thai Duong's words. But as he turns to leave, the shaman's voice calls after him, a haunting reminder. "The demon has marked you, Luc. Its presence may linger, a shadow over your soul." The weight of the night's events settles heavily upon Luc's shoulders. As the first light of dawn crests the horizon, casting a pale glow over the world, Luc and Thai Duong tread solemnly along the narrow, winding path that leads them back home. Each step is heavy, burdened by the weight of the past night's events. They carry with them the still form of Mrs. Sao, her lifeless body wrapped in the traditional white shroud, a stark contrast against the verdant foliage surrounding them. The air is thick with the scent of earth and morning dew, mingling with the faint fragrance of incense, still clinging to their clothes. Arriving at the ancestral home, they gently lay Mrs. Sao's body in the old wooden coffin that has been prepared. The lacquered surface gleams faintly in the dim light filtering through the bamboo screens. Luc watches as Tai Duong gathers a handful of iron nails, each one a promise of protection, a ward against the malevolent forces that have haunted them. Together, they seal the coffin, each hammer stroke echoing through the quiet room, a rhythmic cadence that speaks of finality and resolve. With each nail driven into the wood, Luc feels a sense of fleeting security, a fragile hope that perhaps the curse might be contained. Under the watchful gaze of the ancestors, they carry the coffin to the burial site, a secluded spot behind the house where the earth is soft and ready to receive its burden. As they lower the coffin into the ground, the silence is profound, broken only by the rustle of leaves in the gentle breeze. Luc feels the weight of history pressing down on him, the burden of a promise made to the living and the dead. As Luc stands, wiping the sweat from his brow, his eyes catch a movement in the bamboo grove. There, perched on a stone, is a black cat, its eyes like twin embers fixed intently upon him. The cat's gaze is unyielding, a silent witness to the day's solemn proceedings. A shiver runs down Luc's spine as he realizes the truth. The curse's shadow remains, lurking at the edges of his consciousness.